Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to programming with Java. So basically in the past class we talked a little bit about the if statement and other elements, and what I want to do today is pretty simple, is taking everything that we have just learned in the past few classes and putting it all together. So what we're going to do today is basically create a basic application that will be about cars. So something that I think is pretty simple. The conception is also very simple, and the concept, you'll see, it's pretty cool. So my goal today is really to basically create and build up everything that we have learned in the past few classes in order to put everything in application. So let's start. All right, so basically the first step of the application today is know what exactly it will do. So the goal today is really to ask a user if this user wants to buy a car. If the user says yes, in this case, we're going to offer him three choices of colors. So basically, if the person wants a red car, blue car, or yellow car. And if no, we'll tell him have a great day. And if the person chooses the red car, we're going to tell him, great, we have it in stock, and ask him another question. So it's basically, it will work mostly with strings. So we'll have no numbers right here. So we'll have no integers or doubles or any other data type. So the data type that we are going to work with today is strings, but you can apply this to other data types as well. So as always, the first step is having our public class right here and our method right there. Also, we're going to import scanner. I already imported right here. And right now, our first step is really asking out a question to our user. So what's the question that we are going to ask him, and how exactly we're going to ask him a question? So pretty simple. The way we asking a question in Java is simply by writing down the print function. So we're going to write down system.print . Here we go. All right. So right now we have our first line of code, and what we want to do right here is simply ask our user if he or she wants a car. So we're going to ask him, do you want a car? And pretty important, putting everything into parentheses. Here we go. All right, great. So right now everything should be pretty good. So this is basically the first step, writing down the first line of code. All right, great. So right now that we have asked the question to our user, the second thing to know is, basically the second thing to do is create a variable for us to be able to take everything that we have and be able to basically ask our user something. So right now what we're going to do is simply create a variable that will allow us to take information from our user, and this is where our scanner will be used, and we're gonna put him into application. So pretty simple. We'll write down scanner, and we're going to create a variable that will be called scan. And here we're going to write down the line of code that we learned in the past classes. So basically the same thing that will allow us to take informations from our user. All right, so when it's all done, the next step is pretty simple, is simply creating a variable where we're going to store. A little second, here we go. All right, so the next step is simply creating a variable where we're going to store our first answer. So basically we need we're going to ask this question to our user, and we need to store our first answer somewhere. So we're going to create our first answer, and we're going to create a variable that will be called answer1, and it's going to be a string. So we'll just write down our data type, so string, and our first variable that will be used to basically store the answer will be called ans1, so ans1. So here we want to store the scan. So basically we'll write down scan.next. Here we go. All right. So right now that we have all this, we can start our application. So right now what we have until now is pretty simple. We have the question that we are going to ask our user. So do you want a car? So here we go. We have our question right there. And then the next step is really scanning everything. So basically verifying verifying and writing down the lines of code to be able to basically store the answer of our user. So we have it right there. When it's all done, it's time to write down our if function. And basically the first step, what is exactly the first step? It's verifying if our answer 1 is equal to yes or no. So basically we'll just write it right there. So if answer 1 is equal, so a good way to write down equal here, we're not going to use the 2 equal signs, because if we use it, we're gonna have a bug. It's not gonna work for strings. So we're going to write down equals, so as a function. Here we go. And what we're going to do here is simply write down yes. So this is basically our first question. We want to ask our user, hey, do you want to buy a car? We'll just add a few elements, so yes or no. So this way the user will answer yes or no. So if the user answers yes, what we want to do? We want to ask him another question. We want to ask him, okay, what is your favorite color? So this is exactly what we're going to do. So we'll write down our elements, so system.out.println, and we're going to ask him our question, which is pretty simple. So basically we want to know what is the favorite color of our user. A little mistake right here. We should write down points. There we go. So we write down println, and we ask the second question to our user, which is, what is your favorite color between, and here we'll just name a few colors. This way the user will know exactly that he will need to choose a color between those colors. So in this case, red, blue, and finally we'll have yellow. So we have everything that we need until now. So we have our 3 colors, so red, blue, yellow. So this is what happens in the case that our user, well, basically in this case, in the case that our user answers yes. Right now, if our user answers no, so in the case that our user answers no, what's gonna happen? So basically, we're not gonna use the if else function in this case, if else, else if argument, sorry. We're going to simply use the else argument in order to simply generate great, have a nice day. So in the case that the user answers no, so we are going to generate something else. So pretty simple, just opening up the parentheses. Here we go, great. All right, we have everything that we need. All right, everything works fine. All right, great. So right now we'll just write it down. So in this case, system no problem right there as well. Great, here we go. So right now, until now, we have absolutely everything that we need. So basically, in the case that the person doesn't want a car, we'll simply write down no worries, have a good day. Great, so right now, if the person doesn't want a car, well, have a good day. It's pretty cool, no worries. All right, but in the case that the person says yes, what we want to do? So we'll come back here. If we run our application, what's going to happen is that until now, the application should work. So we have an answer if the person says yes, and if the person says no. So if we write down yes, here we have our second answer, but we didn't finish the application. In the case that the person said that the person says no, what's going to happen? No worries, have a good day. So until now, everything works pretty fine. Great. So next step, what is exactly the next step? So right now we have asked our first question to our user, and we ask them the second question. So we need to basically do pretty much the same thing as here. We need to store our second answer somewhere. So we'll create a variable where we're going to store our second answer. So we'll write it down right there. So string ans number 2. And what we're going to do is simply write down scan.next. This is the line of code that will allow us to store our answer somewhere. Great. All right, so basically this is the second step. So if the person answered yes, we want to ask the person, what is your favorite color between red, blue, and yellow?